Welcome dear students. Today we shall discuss the samskaras. Before going through this lecture in details, first let me explain its main objectives. To know the concept of samskaras, to understand the purpose of samskaras, to know about various samskaras to be performed at various stages of life, to know about the outcome of performing samskaras, and finally to know about the importance of samskaras for the follower of Hinduism. First, let's start with the introduction. The Indian civilization has always been deeply influenced by the religion right from its inception. Every human society in the world follows several rituals, but the way they are being practiced in India, one may hardly get its mention in any other part or culture of the world. Rituals are the characteristic feature of Hindu civilization. Rituals are ceremonies which are mostly associated with important events in the life of a Hindu, like the birth of a child, marriage and death, etc. The samskara is a Sanskrit word which may be translated as perfecting, and as per the Hindu philosophy, helps an individual to raise one to a higher spiritual plane. According to the Hindu philosophy, every aspect of life is sacred, so it needs to be celebrated in accordance with the dharma. It is for this reason that each significant stage in the life of an individual from beginning to end is to be celebrated as a reminder that life is a gift from God which should be duly respected and lived according to His wishes. The word samskara is one among the few words for which there is no single exact corresponding word available in English. It has been sometimes loosely translated as more religious rites, ceremony, socially observances, formalities and meticulous behavior. But none of these words express the actual meaning of the Sanskrit word samskara. The word samskara has originated from the Sanskrit root word samskaragrahan. However, one must keep this in mind that the term samskaragrahan hardly ever occurs in Vedic literature. The root kar with sam and the passive participle samskarta occur often at several places. Samskarta may be translated as purificatory rites and ceremonies for sanctifying one's body, mind and intellect so that he and occasionally she may develop himself into a full-fledged member of the society. The literary meaning of samskara may thus be making a person perfect, fit for a certain purpose. The samskara are meant to sanctify an individual and enable him to overcome the risks of a new stage of life such as impregnation, birth, naming, initiation and investiture with the sacred thread, the return home of the youth after completing his education, marriage and death. Thus, in this way, samskaras cover all the important phases in the life of an individual from conception until death and beyond. It is through a gradual adoption of these samskaras that an individual may approach the state of the twice born. Yet at another level, samskara were meant to expound social associations through their very presentation. They comprise an expression of social relations through the language of rituals, which were meant to demonstrate the bonds between the larger society or community and the individual by indirectly spotlighting on the values and sporting forms of classification. They attempted to achieve their social function through or by different modes of communication of certain principles. Rites of passage are not just about the change that they possibly brought in individual status, but also about the dynamics of relations between members of human society as well as a link between past and present generations. The samskaras are primarily a vehicle for the purification in an individual's life. It is believed that this process of purification takes away the sin or impurity. Samskaras are thus purificatory acts which help us in making both body and soul pure and thereby helping one in an advancement in his spiritual upliftment. The situation has been made clear by Dr. R.B. Pandey, who states that samskaras are religious purificatory rites or ceremonies for sanctifying the human body, mind and intellect so that he may become a full-fledged member of the society. But one must remember that Hindu samskaras also combine a number of preliminary deliberations and rites and other supplementary rules and observances, all aiming at not only the strict purifications of the body but at purifying, astonishing, cleansing and idealizing the entire individuality of the beneficiary. The samskaras with their possessions were observed as producing a peculiar, imperceptible kind of merit for the individual whom performed them. On the other hand, Dr. P.V. Kane discusses the purpose and usefulness of samskaras. He is of the opinion that the exact consequence of samskaras in the progress of a higher human personality was left rather unclear in our authorities, and their dealing of the reason of samskaras is not very detailed or comprehensive. The samskaras from the very ancient times had been treated as essential for unfolding the dormant capacities of an individual for development and as being the external symbols or signs of the inner change which would fit individuals for community life, and they also tend to bestow a certain status on those who perform them. Rajabali Pandey in his work on Hindu samskaras has discussed on the concept of the samskaras. He discusses the origin and development of samskaras in their social context in light of the Smriti literature. In his work, he argues in favor of the great significance and elegance attached with the performance of the samskaras in individual's life. The Smriti texts have divided the rituals into three categories: obligatory, daily rites or nitya karman, occasional rites or nimiti karman, and rites which are to be performed for desired objects or purpose, kimya karman. The Dharma Sutra texts discuss in detail the domestic rites that are recommended for the first three varnas. The fundamental distinction between the Graha Sutras and the Dharma Shastras is that whereas the former prescribe complicated formulae to be recited at different stages of a particular samskara, the later on the other side not often describe the ritual. Their scope is wider. Their principal purpose is to widen upon the rules of behavior, law and tradition. The Dharma Shastras deal with correct deeds, including the duties, rules of conduct, lawful profession of the class of society and the stage of life, ritual purity and nutritional laws, punishments and penances, as well as various other topics. The Dharma Shastra texts have some topics in common with the Graha Sutras, but due to the different approach from which they view ritual life, they lay stress upon other aspects. The Graha Sutra are the oldest works on the samskaras and in the corpus of the Kalpa Sutra that consists of the Saruta Sutras, Graha Sutras and Dharma Shastras. The Dharma Shastras as a law follow the texts of Graha Sutras. Among the two epics of ancient India, it is the Ramayana which has influenced the religious as well as moral thinking and to a great extent has molded the lives of many generations for more than 2000 years. The text is not simply a narrative composition of the hero but has been written with a moral perspective with a focus on high idealism behind these heroic achievements that has been highlighted in the text. The classical Sanskrit texts like Raghuvamsa, Kumahara Sambhava, Abhijanam Shakuntalam, Hitopadesha and Manusmriti, Samaskara is used in the sense of education, cultivation, preparation, modification, excellence, grammatical clarity, polishing, beautification, a purificatory ritual, a holy ritual, sanctification, effect of past events, karmas, advantage of karmas, etc. A simple definition of samaskara covering almost all the above is the progress upon something while eliminating its unwanted characteristics. While going through the different samskaras and their nature, it seems that their purposes are manifold. Some of them, like Upanayana, serve the spiritual and cultural purposes of an individual as they brought the unredeemed individual into the company of the perfect. They open the door to Vedic study and thus conferred special privileges and exacted duties on the people belonging to upper three varnas. Yet some of them have psychological values as well, by impressing on the mind of the individual that by performing them, a person assumes a new role in the life, and as such he must try hard to observe its rules. The other samaskaras like Namakarana, Annaprasana, Nishkakarma were more or less with a popular nature. They afforded opportunities to the people to express their love and affection and for festivities. Other samaskaras like Garbhadana, Pumsavana, Simantonayana had a spiritual and symbolic essentials in them. The Vivaha Samaskara enabled the union of two personalities into one, which becomes base for continuance of society and for the uplift of the two by self-restraint, by self-sacrifice and mutual understanding. Dear students, let's discuss the purpose of samskaras. The basic idea behind the samskara seems to be reorientation or refinement of the body and soul of an individual as per the Hindu philosophy. Cultural. The various rituals to be performed by way of samskaras help in the formation and growth of the personality. In the Parsar Smriti, it is stated that just as a picture is decorated with various colors, so the character of a person is fashioned by experiencing various samskaras. It was in this context that the Hindu sages appreciated the need of intentionally guiding and molding the personality of individuals instead of letting them grow in a random manner. Thus, in this way, samskaras help in a proper personality development of an individual and thereby in the establishment of a sound society based on values. Now, spiritual. The ancient seers and scholars are of the opinion that samskaras help a human being in imparting a higher holiness to life. Adulterations associated with the material body are eliminated by the performance of samskaras. The ancient scholars hold the view that by way of samskaras, our whole body can be a fit dwelling place for the Atma. The Atri Samriti holds the view that a man is born as a Shudra. By performing the Upanayana Samskara, he gets elevated to the status of Divija or twice born. By obtaining the Vedic lore, he reaches Vipra, an inspired poet, and by comprehending Brahma, that's God, he is promoted to the status of a Brahman. In this way, it becomes clear that the samskaras are a form of spiritual venture, sadhana, and external obedience for internal spiritual learning. The Isha Upanishad tells us that the final goal of the samskaras by examining the rites and rituals is to rise above the burden of samskaras or endless circles of birth and death and to cross the ocean of death. To this, one may add that after going beyond the cycle of birth and deaths, the Atma attains Paramatma, the Lord Purushottam, thus achieves its final goal. P.V. Kane in his History of Dharma Shastras and J. Holm and J. Bhaukar in their work Rites of Passage present a list of 16 samskaras. However, they provide a somewhat different list in their respective texts. Now we shall be discussing the 16 samskaras, what different list of has been provided while as 16 samskaras. Now first category we have prenatal samskaras. In prenatal samskaras, we have first samskara called Garbhadana or conception. The first samskara to be performed by a Hindu is Garbhadan. It is based on two words, Garbha literally means womb and Dhan means donation. During the course of this samskara, a man places his seed in a woman. Both Graha Sutras and Smritis discuss about the special circumstances and observances for this so to ensure a vigorous and bright progeny. Having a child was essential in many ways, and one of the reasons to having a child was observed for praying of death to the forefathers. Yet there is another reason for having child, as it is stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad that when the student completes his Vedic education, he has to request the teacher for permission to leave from his school. The teacher at this stage blesses the student with some guidance which he should follow throughout his life. One of such instruction is do not end one's family, let it continue by having children. Prajatantu ma vyava chichisithi. The second is Pumsavana or engendering a male issue. The second samskara to be performed is Pumsavana. It is pertinent to mention here that this and the Simantonayana, the third samskara, are recommended for women's first issue. Pumsavana is to be performed in the 3rd or 4th month of pregnancy. However, while performing this samskara, certain conditions are to be kept in mind, like when the moon is in a male constellation, particularly Tishya Nakshatra, as it is generally believed that it symbolizes a male child. Thus, the term Pumsamana literally means male procreation. The ancient rishi of Ayurveda, Sushrut, in his famous work Sushruta Samhita, has described the procedure in detail. He states that having minced milk with any of these herbs, Sulakshamana, Batasurga, Sahadevi and Vishwadeva, one should instill 3 or 4 drops of juice in the right nostril of the pregnant woman. He further states that she should not discharge the juice. Now the third is Simantonayana, that's hair parting. This Samskara in Gujarat is also known as Khodo Barawa. While performing this, the husband parts the wife's hair. The religious implication of this Samskara is to bring success to the mother and a long life to the unborn child. It also wards off malevolence power. Besides its religious value, this Samskara has a psychological significance as well. According to Sushrut, the fetus's mind formation starts in the 5th month of pregnancy. Hence, at this time, the mother is need to utmost care so that she may deliver a healthy baby. While discussing further on it, Sushrut states that pregnant mother must avoid exertion of all kinds. She must refrain from sleeping during the day and keeping awake at night, and also avoid horror, purgatives and postponing natural excretions. Besides samskaras which affect the physical health of the fetus, ancient texts contain examples of learning samskaras embossed on it. From the Mahabharata, we came to know that Arjuna's son Abhimanyu learned the secrets of fighting texts while he was in her mother's Subhadra's womb. Likewise, the child devotee Prahlad of the Srimad Bhagavatam learnt about the glory of Lord Narayana even when he was in his mother's Kayadu's womb. It was believed that just as a fetus receives food, he may also grab good spiritual samskaras from the external world, as it has been established by the medical sciences that any bad habit like smoking, alcohol or consuming certain medications or drugs can have a detrimental effect on fetus. The ancient sages have discussed such issues long back, and it was in this context we see the Varaha Smriti prohibits eating meat during pregnancy. Therefore, the Smriti stressed on the husband to take every possible care to protect the physical, mental and spiritual health of his pregnant wife. The nature of care was to the extent that the Kalavidhan even prohibits him from going overseas or to the war, from constructing a new house and bathing in the sea. Now the childhood samaskaras. The first in childhood samaskaras is the Jata Karma or the birth ritual. This is the first samaskara to be performed after the birth of a child. According to the tradition, moon has a special effect on the newly born child. In addition to the constellation of the planets, nakshatras also decide the amount of auspiciousness. It is held that if the birth of a child occurs during an inauspicious time, the Jata Karmas are performed to ward off their harmful effects on the newly born child. At this occasion, the father may also ask for the Brahmanishtha Satpurush for his blessing. The another is Namakarnam or the name giving. This is one of the most important samskara in the life of an individual, as it gives him with an identity. At the time of naming a child, the arrangement of the constellations of the time of birth are given due consideration. The child is named on a particular day as recommended by caste tradition. In the Hindu tradition, the child is commonly named after an avatar deity, sacred place or river or saint, etc., as a regular reminder of the sacred values for which that name stands for. In the Swami Narayan Sampradaya, the follower approach Parmukh Swami Maharaj or the other elder sadhus to name their children. The another is Nishkarm or the first outing. It is in the 3rd month that a child is allowed to have Agni or fire and Chandra or moon darshan. The next thing to follow is to take him to the mandir for the Lord's darshan. This is mostly done by the father or maternal uncle. The another is Anna Prashana, first feeding. The next important samskara is feeding the child with solid food. With regard to the performance of this samskara, the months are to be decided on the basis of gender. For example, in the case of a male, it was to be performed in the even months like 6, 8, 10 and 12. While for a girl child, it was in odd months like 5, 7 and 9th. The food offered to the child first time is cooked rice with ghee. However, in some sutras, some believe that even honey can be mixed with this. By performing this samskara, the wise scholar stresses on two things. First, the child is weaned away from mother at an appropriate time. Secondly, it cautions the mother to stop breastfeeding to the child. The another is chauda karma or chhol or shaving head. This samskara is performed at the time of shaving the head only of a male child during first, second, third and fifth year, or when starting him with the janoi or upanayana. According to Sushrut, the importance of this along with nail cutting is to give happiness, frothiness, affluence, bravery and pleasure. Charak is of the same opinion. In the Swami Narayan Sampradaya, the son is first taken to Pramukh Swami Maharaj or senior sadhu, who clip a tuft of hair while the remaining hair is shaved off shortly afterwards. A bunch of hair, shikha or chatoli, is left in place at the top of the head for long life. Sushrut has discussed its consequence and argue that inside the head near the top is the joint of a shira artery and a sandhi critical juncture. There in the eddy of hairs is a vital spot called the adipati, overlord. Any injury to this part may cause sudden death. However, with the passage of time, this was considered a symbol of the Hindu dharma, and as such, its removal was regarded as a grave sin. Now another is Karnaveda, piercing the earlobes. This samskara is performed at the time when child's earlobes are pierced. It is either on the 12th or 16th day, or 6th or 7th month, or 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th or the 9th year. Sushrut is of the opinion that the ears of a child should be pierced for God and beautification. In some texts, it is stated that a goldsmith should pierce the ears, while Sushrut supports for a surgeon. In case of a boy, the right earlobe is pierced first, while for a girl it is left. This samskara is more associated with the girls, while in case of boys it is confined to few areas only at present. Dear students, it was all about today's lecture regarding samskaras. Hope you have enjoyed the lecture. We shall meet again with a new topic. Till then, take care and goodbye.